Alright, hi everyone. We're the third Growers First group, focusing more on working with the international farmers on sustainable development. I'm Colleen Somas.
I'm Brianna McCullen.
I'm Daniel Silverstein.
Maureen Kilroy.
And I'm Anika Mahajan.
And now, we'll take you into our presentation.
I'm just going to go over a little bit of backgrounds with Growers First. It was founded over 20 years ago by Dave Day, and his main approach was to address the problems of inequalities of agriculture market in Mexico, Honduras, Indonesia, and Rwanda. The root problem was providing substance of healthcare and education to farmers and families. Growers First background is if farmers can create and grow successful micro enterprises, they will then be able to provide for their families over the long term and thus better their communities. One of the main approaches that Growers First was looking to use is the 10 seeds technique to find out the priorities of the community. And what they would do is get feedback from the farmers, and after discussing and going over a few of the problems, they would focus on what did that community really need to focus on. And we're working with Eric, who's here, Stefan, who is the president, and also Gus, who's one of the board members, who we've had many Skype sessions and meetings with. So sustainable farming. There's obviously great economic and social benefits, and we want to help try and improve education and the quality of life in the long run. So agriculture is obviously a significant role in developing countries. If we are able to give back to the farmers and their communities, it will help them grow and become sustainable. Typically, farmers only are receiving about 3 to 4 cents on a $3 cup of coffee, which is not much at all. And Growers First wants to help these farmers improve their quality of life through sustainable practices and to get the most from their farms.
So the community that we're going to concentrate in is El Socorro, Honduras. It's a farming community that's about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from the nearest major city, and they farm coffee, which is one of their only sources of income, and Honduras' #1 export. And we want to work with Growers First in order to help them with their main goal of increasing the profitability of the coffee. So over the spring break, Wheaton College visited this group, and they got a hands-on look at the 10 Seeds program and found that education was of the highest priority. Unfortunately, the Honduran government provides limited funds for the education in Honduras, and so that results in limited supplies, 1 schoolhouse, 1 teacher for 60 students, grades 1 through 6. And currently there's an emphasis on the younger students, but we'd like to develop a program that places more of an emphasis on the older students so that they can develop their educational skills and leadership skills that will help them be more profitable in the future and that can provide to their community.
Yes. So I'm going to talk about the program. So keeping in mind the broad view of the situation of Growers First right now, we wanted to definitely create a sustainable project. And our focus, as Maureen had mentioned previously, was El Socorro in Honduras. We also identified a weakness in the system, and it's the education system, that pretty much forgets about students after the 6th grade. And we wanted to perpetuate their stay in school and try and encourage them to keep on with education. So we wanted to implement a creative solution to fill this void. Sorry. So we initially thought of something like playground garden, Jardín del Patio, and it was based on the SEED program from the American School of Barcelona, where I come from, where they have student exploration. It stands for Student Exploration, Experience, and Discovery, and they meet once a week. They have to come to school to be able to participate in these activities, and it introduces them to a wide variety of activities. And We specifically thought that the most important ones for our project would be an introduction to entrepreneurship, creative thinking, and team building.
So the next part that we thought was we were able to develop like the cognitive pattern of thinking for that by teaching leadership skills and how to become a leader, and then actually let them implement it. So we changed the normative actions, and to do that we thought about creating a sustainable garden, like a subsidiary garden. So you have like a micro version of Growers First, which Colleen called First Growers, so it fits perfectly. And what we wanted to have is incorporate some of the Growers First farmers to come in to teach the practices, what they're learning or what they're doing, and teach those to the 5th and 6th graders in particular. And a lot of these will be like their parents, and so they may already know how to grow coffee, but they've never been able to have their own and to be able to profit from it directly. So that was the whole idea behind that. So once they're able to do the, I don't know how to say what you call it. Secret language. Okay, so anyways, once they were able to kind of learn from that, those different values and ways to be able to manage a team, then they can actually do it. So the idea was that they can produce these goods, keeping in mind things that are going to be profitable, things that the consumers are going to, or that the community is going to want, and that's in season. And then they're able to actually go into venues. Most of the crops are, or most of produce is sold in farmers market, and they can go and make a profit. So the idea being that the community can come and products that they're already going to buy, they can buy, but the money will be going back into the school. So they'll be able to provide for more classroom supplies and also be able to continue to fund the garden. So that was like our whole kind of circle around being able to create sustainable development in the education sector. And so hopefully it could be successful and be able to translate to the other villages that Growers First is in. And so,
Okay, so basically to implement this project overall within El Socorro, we really need to get all of the stakeholders, participants on board and really excited. First and foremost, Growers First. This is the organization that will have direct personal contact with this community, with the farmers, even after the end of this semester when our part in the project will end. Given that this is an education-related project, it's going to take time to implement, as do any education-related initiatives. So Growers First will need to be on board to help ensure the commencement of the project, perhaps help with some initial organization, and just working on communicating different things between the farmers and Growers First. Next, we need to get the school on board. The one teacher who has been there for about 3 years, and all of the 60 students. The teacher, when we were speaking with Gus, one of the board members that we've been working with, he said that the teacher has said he's willing to try anything to really get the students more involved, to try to pay more attention to the older students and really keep them within the school system until at least the 6th grade. As we said before, there's a high attrition rate, so they're really trying to combat that. The teacher best understands all of the students within the school, understands how they work together, their relationships, so he would be a valuable asset to kind of figure out how to group the students together to, make sure that this project actually works out. And of course, the students really need to be enthusiastic. This is ideally their project, this is their garden, this is their own. So if they're not into it, it won't be nearly as successful as we would like. Finally, the rest of the community of El Socorro. As we said before, we want to bring in some of the adult farmers, some of the kids' parents to kind of help impart some of their knowledge about sustainable farming onto the students. So we would need their help there, and also we need their support in actually purchasing the produce that the kids grow within their gardens and kind of keeping this whole cycle going. But as we also said before, education has been proven to be, or has shown itself to be, the #1 priority of all of the members of this community. So we think that they would be pretty likely to get behind this project. Basically, to get this project going, there are a few necessary resources, logistics, things like that need to be worked out. We need to select a location near the school with access to water. We don't want to have to force any of the students to go out of their way in order to work on this garden. We don't want to put any of the students at extra risk. We need to decide which plants or vegetables are going to be grown within the gardens, taking into account seasonal factors, things like that. And we need to acquire seeds and tools for actually planting and maintaining the garden. This needs to be worked out, either an initial investment from Growers First, potentially a donation from any of the farmers. I know obviously they're all not going to be able to give tons of seeds to this school, but maybe one seed here and there. And ideally, since it is a garden, you will be able to use some of the seeds from the plants that are produced to kind of keep the garden going, keep up with sustainability. Also, with the help of the teacher, we need to arrange the students into their teams, their working teams. We would need to find a way to really incorporate the garden into the students, the teachers' lesson plans, make sure it flows with the regular school day, with the regular school week. And then once all the crops the plants are farmed and picked and everything, we need to find a location and a method of actually selling these crops to the members of El Socorro.
Okay, so we try to identify as many concerns as possible that when we're showing the stakeholders that if they were concerned. So again, as Kali mentioned, implementation logistics, being able to find who's going to fund the startup costs for this project, that's a difficult one. And the risk of the project not being effective, which goes hand in hand with the community, because if the community doesn't want it, then there's no reason for it to be implemented because it has to be in demand and supported. And then the other problem that we had was possibility of securing the garden, making sure that other people aren't stealing from it or that any type of thing, because if there was any threats to it, because there would be no one there overnight. And then the other thing is association with child labor, since children will be producing the products and selling them. We just want to make sure that there's no way that Growers First could be associated with that.
And so basically, after coming up with this whole project, this whole education initiative for El Socorro, our overall long-term goal is to increase the rate of kids staying in school either to 6th grade or ideally past the 6th grade. As we said, there is a very high rate of attrition. Almost all of the students in the school right now within El Socorro are in grades 1 through 3, and as you get to 4, 5, 6, they just drop out. So long-term goal, keep the kids in school. We also want to ensure the sustainability of this garden, make sure that it stays in existence for the students in years to come. And ideally, if this does work out, we'd like to be replicable within other communities that that Growers First works with. All of the communities that they are working with are farming communities, so there is a very high likelihood that this would be well received in other communities as well.